Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Chronochord, part 2 of our 2017 gaming preview. JC here with C-Dub. Let's get right back into it, man. There's a new system coming out, what do you know? Nintendo, they had that Wii U a few years ago, kind of tanked. They had a few good games for it though, I must say, but now they have the Nintendo Switch dropping in less than 2 weeks now, C-Dub. What do you think?
Yeah, man, Nintendo is really going all in with this Switch launch on March 3rd, coming up, as you said, right around the corner here. It's going to be coming in hot. And Nintendo is really banking on this launch on one major title, a franchise near and dear to our hearts, The Legend of Zelda, and the newest iteration of that story, Breath of the Wild. There is a ton of footage out there of the gameplay and all the really, really crazy features that are in this. This is going to be the most expansive and colossal Zelda game to date. It looks like there's going to be so many secrets to uncover, different weapons at your disposal, and even some really interesting magic powers.
I think it's safe to say, man, that this is the Zelda game we've been waiting for quite a while. You and I are both old school gamers, man. Link to the Past, the original gold cartridges for NES that we still own and we still play to this day. So we are really longtime Zelda fans. This was great news to see last year, and all that footage online, dude. It's breathtaking, no pun intended. The environments, the cinematics, the fighting mechanics, all looks like a hell of a lot of fun, man. Now, my first question was, being a huge Zelda fan, a musician, will Koji Kondo be returning to compose the soundtrack to Breath of the Wild? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain. From what I did hear of this soundtrack, though, it sounds like we're going to have some really, really huge sounds, great symphonic elements, as well as the natural instruments, woodwinds and drums and stuff like that you always hear in the Zelda games. So hopefully Koji Kondo will be on the job. I don't see how you can make a Zelda game without Koji Kondo doing the music. But the biggest thing that stood out in this game to me from seeing the gameplay is that anything in the game you see, you can traverse. So if there's a cliff face and you want to climb and go higher, there's a way to do it. You may not be able to do it early in your journey without upgrading your climbing skill, but at some point in this game near the end, you're going to be able to pretty much go anywhere.
Yeah, when you see this footage online on YouTube or wherever, everything you see you can go to, just like Skyrim, which came out years ago now. It was just such a huge expanse of land to cover. You feel like you're never going to reach that mountaintop in the distance, and then when you finally get there hours later, you're like, oh man, what a journey. And that's really an inviting element for Breath of the Wild to me. If there's any reason to go buy a Switch, this game would be that reason.
Agreed. Nintendo is certainly making sure that that's the case, but they also have a couple of other interesting titles that they have announced that are going to be coming up this year, including their other big major property, Super Mario Odyssey, which has a more real-world setting mixed with the typical fantasy elements of Mario. These visuals and graphics, and from everything that they've showed, it looks to be much like Zelda is taking that franchise to a whole new level. It seems that Mario is going to be in a complete open world, be able to go to different galaxies or whatever it may be. Pretty insane. Another game that they're bringing out that will feature the motion controls of the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con controllers is 1-2 Switch. You should definitely go check that out. Some of the videos and stuff that they've shown on that. It has a really, really neat quick draw game, like you're having an old-fashioned Wild West duel. There's also a really, really funny cow milking game where you see who can fill up the most buckets of milk in the amount of time provided. And you also have a return from the past to the future, Ultra Street Fighter II, the final challengers from Capcom. It's no secret that I'm a huge fighting game fan. I spent a lot of my allowance on Street Fighter II as a kid, and it's going to be great to see the old original familiar stages, music, and characters blended in with at least 2 new characters who we saw, including Evil Ryu, which is really, really awesome. And apparently they're going to also involve HD elements, so you can play this either in the old school style or in new HD graphics. And I saw something that apparently there's going to be some sort of first person view. All I know is I saw somebody with a Switch controller in their hand, and they definitely threw a Hadouken, and they saw a Hadouken get thrown on screen. Amazing.
Another game that, hell, both you and I played as young dudes, and now that we're old dudes, still playing it. I'll admit my favorite Street Fighters are the Street Fighter II, the Turbo Edition, the Street Fighter Alpha for PlayStation 1 was a personal favorite, but any fighting game, dude, count me in.
As just a general comment on the Switch, it's going to be really crucial for Nintendo to make sure that they support this system with huge titles. I think that was probably the major downfall of the Wii U. They had their usual intellectual properties with the big games, and they kind of failed outside of that. So it's going to be really interesting for the industry as a whole to see how Nintendo performs.
And eventually they'll be releasing titles from the Metroid series, the Star Fox series, all the classic Nintendo-owned franchises. Best of luck to Nintendo. Hope you do better than Wii U. Let's jump back to the Xbox One and PS4 here, C-Dub, and tackle Injustice 2. Now, Injustice 1 was a great fighting game, pretty much included all of our favorite superheroes from the DC universe, and now in Injustice 2, they're including most of those people, as well as some new good guys and bad guys to fight for the fate of Metropolis and Gotham and all those other places, but the DC versus Mortal Kombat game was personally one of my favorite fighting games of all time, so anything from NetherRealm and Ed Boon, definitely count me in. Now, C-Dub, what are some of these new characters that they are including in Injustice 2?
Well, I know that one that really stood out to me, Swamp Thing. We are getting Swamp Thing in a video game. Amazing. And, as you mentioned, NetherRealm always does a great job. Everything that they've done prior to this with the Injustice and MK versus DC has been fantastic. This sequel coming out really quick, May 16th. I have to point out that it's kind of funny now that the DC universe is working with the Mortal Kombat franchise on video games, and we've had all of the Marvel games against the Street Fighter and other characters in the Marvel vs. Capcom series. It's kind of weird to see the two big comic book franchises and the two big fighting game franchises kind of pairing up and going at it.
C-Dub, I smell a crossover. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. The best part about Injustice 1 to me, though, C-Dub, was the story mode. I highly recommend playing it. And the newest story mode seems to be a continuation of that, along with some new villains that are apparently on the hunt for Superman, some, mega planet destroyer kind of guys. It's going to be a showdown of epic proportions. My only question is, who is the main villain for this game? There seems to be a few introduced. Wow, the art designs, the character designs for these guys, very impressive. I'm also wondering if there's going to be more game modes apart from multiplayer and the campaign, because it was, kind of limiting. They didn't have all these kind of different battle modes. Battle royals would be cool to introduce, perhaps.
Yeah, I think those would be great features to bring in on the online side of things. The old-fashioned King of the Hill and the arcade-style battles, tag team battles, any of that kind of stuff always adds a whole nother dimension to any fighting game. And I think judging off of the jump from Mortal Kombat 9 to Mortal Kombat X, I'm sure if the same holds true for Injustice to Injustice 2, this game is going to be insane.
Yeah, and the characters are way more customizable than in the first game. This is kind of a pattern I'm seeing in these new games, man. They're allowing you to finally fully customize the look of your character. I don't know why it was so difficult for them to let us do that on some old games like Red Dead 1. Better late than never, I guess. But let's move on to the next set of games here that we're looking forward to in 2017, C-Dub. How about Crackdown 3?
Oh yeah, man. I was always a huge fan of the Crackdown series back on the Xbox 360. I really, really liked it because it's a huge futuristic open world and your powers evolve as you do more battle and find more upgrades. And it's just crazy being able to leap off of a building and survive, or jump and go 100 feet in the air, or all the crazy things. If you ever played the Crackdown series, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, being able to drive a motorcycle up the tallest building in the entire city is pretty crazy. And it looks like this is going to be more of the same. You play as one of the agents or multiple agents from the agency, and you're having to take down the big crime syndicate. Now, JC, I know you didn't really play a whole lot of Crackdown, but you said that your experience with the first one wasn't so great with the online.
Oh man, let me tell you, I think it was the free game of the month, and I downloaded it, tried it out, and I went to multiplayer first. Probably a big mistake. It seemed like you just spawn and you get rocketed, and then you get spawned again, and then someone blasts you with another rocket. It was kind of funny, kind of comical. The graphics were pretty terrible as well. Here's to high hopes for Crackdown 3, C-Dub. I know you've been talking to me a lot about it, and I might just have to give this one a try.
Yeah, Reagent Games is going to have to tighten up, as you said, on the online. That's something that everybody expects these days. And with this being an Xbox exclusive title, they're going to have to make sure that this is a heavy hitter for this year for Microsoft and the Xbox One. Now, we got one more game that I'd like to mention briefly here that's most anticipated for me, and that's Tekken 7. Now, Tekken 7 was released in Japanese arcades in March of 2015, so the game's been out. They also released an updated version in Japanese arcades in July of last year. And this updated version is the one that's going to be coming to consoles. A couple of years ago, we had the Tekken Cross Street Fighter and Street Fighter Cross Tekken crossovers, which were kind of cool. And we're going to see Akuma from the Street Fighter series returning as a guest character in Tekken 7. I play quite a bit of Tekken 6 on my PSP to this day. Really, really great fighting game, and I've always been a fan of the series. So hopefully they can deliver with this latest.
Also, some other game franchises that are typically released annually. Assassin's Creed. No word yet on a new Assassin's Creed coming out in 2017 yet, and that's one of my favorite series of all time. Also, Call of Duty, the old standard. Haven't heard much about that yet, but I have a feeling, man, we're going to receive a lot more news at E3 this summer.
Oh yeah, E3 always brings all kinds of great information about already announced titles and some that have yet to be announced. And you know that they're going to be there giving us info on all those big yearly titles: Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Madden, WWE, all the yearly releases that we see. And hopefully we're going to see some awesome, awesome new features and new games from those big A1 titles. And folks, that's it. These are our most anticipated games of 2017, our 2017 gaming preview. Thank you so much for joining JC and I here on Chronochord. Make sure to leave us a comment below and let us know what your most anticipated game is of the year. And if you're watching this after E3, hey, feel free to discuss all the new exciting stuff that is coming out. Make sure to like this video, throw us a sub, a delicious, delicious sub. And until next time, keep those thumbs warmed up and charge your controllers.